Good evening, St. Louis, and welcome into Chaifetz Arena as the Billikens have started this season with a win. It wasn't always pretty, but it was comprehensive. A 92-67 win for the Billikens tonight. 5 different players score in double digits. You get to see plenty of the players you're used to seeing here in Chaifetz Arena. Robbie Avila leads all scorers with 16 points. Also returning Billikens, Amari McCaffrey and Alan Thames both getting double digits as well. And then you had some new players. Quentin Jones also got involved in this one, and Deion Brown. He's the big story of the night. Deion Brown didn't get a lot of time in the scrimmages or the practices to start out the season in front of the SLU fan base because he was dealing with a shoulder injury. Then he missed one of the scrimmages. But, man, Deion Brown came to play. He showed out in his Billikens debut, 11 points and 11 rebounds. His rebounding was one of the things I highlighted in the preseason because if you're a Billikens fan, obviously you remember Jordan Goodwin. So seeing a guy who's 6'3", bound around and get double-digit rebounds, it's not new if you're a Billikens fan, but it is exciting to see that kind of skill set once again. Obviously, there was a lot of sloppiness with the Billikens tonight. Anytime you're letting up almost 70 points to a team and it's a close game through the first 6 or 7 minutes, people are going to ask a lot of questions. Bottom line, it was a sloppy night for the Billikens. There's really no other excuse for what happened tonight. There was turnovers. One thing to highlight, there's not any elite ball handlers in the backcourt for this Billikens team. Quentin Jones, Deion Brown, Amari McCaffrey, Trey Green, these guys are going to share a lot of the playmaking duties, a lot of the ball handling duties for the Billikens, and none of those guys are true point guards. A lot of them are really good secondary ball handlers, but at some point this season, every single one of them is going to have to be the primary ball handler for the Billikens. The big key, though, is if they can eliminate those half-court possessions and just keep playing in transition like they were able to tonight, that completely changes the outlook for this Billikens team because Amari McCaffrey, Kellen Thames, these guys turn into elite ball handlers when you start talking about actually doing things in transition. So, that's something we saw tonight. When Amari McCaffrey, Kellen Thames, and Quentin Jones, anytime they touched the ball and got downhill, they got into paint and they got a layup up. And that's one of the reasons they were able to really put their foot on the pedal and push away with this game. Turnovers are going to be one thing you see a lot that was problematic. Fouls have to be a huge thing that we highlight. Paul Otieno, the big transfer out of Quinnipiac, he fouls out of his first ever Billikens game. He gets just 7 points and 2 rebounds. That's one thing that you don't want to see. He's part of the big transfer portal this past spring. He adds athleticism. He adds shot blocking. He adds even a little bit of three-point shooting, as we saw tonight and as you saw last year when he was playing with Quinnipiac. But if he's not adding the rebounding, if he's not able to consistently be out there in these defensive moments when you need him, that could be a little problematic. Yes, I'm harping on some little things, but when you let up 70 points in an opening game like that and you're that sloppy for the entire game, we deserve to harp on some things. Samuel Howe pointing out no discipline in this one. Yeah, I think that's a fair way to say it. The first half, almost every single possession that the Billikens had, somebody was dribbling the ball off their foot. Somebody was making a slight little mistake. The one thing you can look at if we're talking about mistakes, only 1 or 2 times where the Billikens got beat because it was a clear mistake on defense. One of those times, they missed a rotation. 2 of their players are caught in no man's land. They weren't playing a zone, but the way they were positioned, it looked like they were trying to play a zone, but that was not the case. Anytime that happens, it's a pretty ugly moment. Josh Schertz immediately called a timeout, broke down the team there. So, when we talk about defensive miscues, were there any huge mistakes that I saw out there tonight? Not really. It was just an extremely sloppy game. Now, usually in some sports, we can say, "Oh, well, there's a short preseason. They haven't played each other. They haven't played with each other a lot." This team has played with each other a lot, and so I think it's fair after even just game one to wonder why did it seem so disconnected? Why, when it did lock in at times of the game, was it still not very cohesive? That's the biggest thing to take from this game is that all the talent, they're flying around with their hair on fire. What happens when they're able to slow things down? Is that a fair question to ask? I think it is. But if we're just going to go off what Josh Schertz has been saying, this is supposed to be the fastest team he's ever coached. They're supposed to play faster offensively than any team he's ever had. They're supposed to play faster defensively than any team he's ever had. One issue that's creeping up there is that they're not creating a lot of turnovers on the other end, which hampers your ability to play fast defensively. If you want to play fast defensively, and heck, if you want to play fast offensively, the only ways you can do that is by creating havoc and creating turnovers. Mari McCautry created havoc, created some turnovers tonight. Kellen Thames created havoc, created some turnovers tonight defensively. But they need more defensive impact. Brady Dunlap, as I talked about tonight with Matt Pauley over on KMOX, Brady Dunlap, 6'7", 6'8", with equal length. He has to be a guy who's affecting the ball and affecting passing lanes. He's also got to be active on the rebounding factor of things. And I thought he was a solid rebounder today, but he's got to be active defensively. Ishan Sharma, I just need him to be passable defensively. You saw tonight, his ability to shoot is pretty incredible. He's not always going to knock him down. You know, he knocked down his beautiful sprinting three, came to a full stop, squared up, and knocked it down. And then his next three-pointer, I think, barely hit the backboard. So, you know, hit and miss with Ishan Sharma, but we know that the shot's there. But too many times, you know, he's standing there defending a guy and his hands are down. And Schertz is yelling at him from the sideline, hands up, hands up. That's something you're going to see the entire time, but it's going to jump out in a game like this where you need players like Ishan Sharma. If they're going to hit threes, they have to be active on the defensive end. The other half of the three part is the D. And so you need those players active in defense, because if you're going to create tips, if you're going to create turnovers, if you're going to create a fast offense, everyone's got to be involved. Quentin Jones is another guy. He's filling up the stat line, had a great second half, got into the paint and really replaced that driving threat they missed when Mari McCautry got into foul trouble. But he's a guy who got a lot of steals last year at Northern Illinois. Heck, he was involved defensively his freshman year at Cal Poly, and he really wasn't that defensive playmaker you expected him to be tonight. That's one thing you got to watch as things go. It can't just be Amari and Kellen the entire time, because tonight they're able to play as many minutes as you want with Amari and Kellen, because they're able to get into the paint at absolute will on the offensive side. There's going to be games where teams, whether it's defensive scheme or just having the individual defenders, they're going to be able to stop Thames and McCautry from getting whatever they want in the paint. If that happens and those guys can't affect the game with their shooting, well, then you're not going to be able to play them as much, and then also the defense is going to have more holes. So that's why right out of game one, it has to be other players getting involved defensively. John Patrick Van Feld is getting involved in the chat. And please, guys, if you're watching, if you're on Twitter, YouTube, or Facebook, jump in the chat. Let me know if you have any thoughts and questions from tonight. Any expectations? This is game one of what is supposed to be the biggest season in Midtown in arguably the last decade as we hit game one. So let me know what your expectations are this season. Let me know what you're excited for this year. Bob Ramsey, by the way, voice of the Billikens, going into his 40th season this year, and he's a special contributor here on these post-game shows. He'll be joining us momentarily. He's right now on the broadcast talking to Josh Schertz. John Patrick Van Pelt, excuse me. Is this post-game show going to be an audio format? I asked because I subscribe to Billikens Central. Yes, this will be an audio format as well. You can always watch it here on YouTube if you're driving home, if you want to watch it after the fact. These YouTube broadcasts are always archived. You can find them on STL Sports Central's YouTube page under the live tab. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the bell button so you always know when we are going live. But we also do post all our shows on your audio format. So all the post games, all the daily shows with Randy Carricker, those kind of things, they're wherever you get your podcast. You can just search and find them there. So if you like a post game, if you want to listen to the audio only version, it is on Spotify, it is on Apple Podcasts, what have you. Samuel House says SEMO struggles in the Ohio Valley, but they had some success in the past. So, yeah, they had a really good year last year, I believe it was, when I was looking at the game book earlier. So, yeah, they're a solid team. They had some good athletes. You know, they weren't overly impressive in any one factor except for what I was just talking about with Ishan Sharma. I don't know if there was a SEMO player who didn't have their hands active tonight. I mean, those guys, every single drive that the Billikens had, and the Billikens did get into the paint a lot, but SEMO, to their credit, they were slapping at balls. They were getting their hands active. Billikens made a lot of dumb mistakes tonight. Put the ball off their hands when you don't want to see them do that. But credit to the defense. They were extremely active. D comes in on X, and he wants to know thoughts on Deion Brown. I mean, he was fantastic tonight. I really didn't get to see a lot of him because he missed the scrimmages that I was at, but I was able to catch him 6 days ago. The Tuesday practice last week that was open to some students. And Deion Brown really wowed me. In the drills, he wowed me with how clean his three-point stroke is, and then just how demonstrable he was on the drive as a talker, as a defender in the actual scrimmage really jumped out to me. And so tonight's game doesn't surprise me at all. And I tweeted it out too. The 11 rebounds should not surprise you with Deion Brown. In fact, let me see if I can grab the numbers here that I put out on Twitter for Deion Brown, because it seemed crazy when I did it for SLU fans in the moment, but I was making not comparisons to Jordan Goodwin, but I was bringing him up because everyone knows this. So Deion Brown averaged 7.6 rebounds as a sophomore at UMBC, but then he came down to earth with 3.9 in the ACC. But again, that's still a 6'3" guard pulling down 4 rebounds per game in a Power 4 conference. So Deion Brown's rebounding numbers are not just a weird game tonight or anything like that. This is Deion Brown's game. He's a above average ball handler. He's an above average 3-point shooter. He's a plus positional rebounder as a 6'3" guard. He's going to be this weird glue guy. He's going to be one of the best defenders on this team. He's going to be a consistent 3-point shooter in open situations. He hit one tonight from the corner that was partially contested, and he's going to touch paint. He's going to lower his shoulder. He's going to lower his head. He's going to get by defenders, and he's going to score easy 2-pointers. And to Samuel Howe's point, he boxes out. Listen, he doesn't just box out. I mean, he's one of those guys, and same thing with Jordan Goodwin. When you're that good of a rebounder as a guard, part of it's going to be that you're good boxing out, but part of it's going to be there's an instinct of reading the play and reading the ball, and good offensive and good rebounders have it who are guards, but also you'll seen it with Kellen Thames, and he doesn't do it with plus positional rebounder from the guard position. He does it in dunking on people's heads, because you'll notice when Kellen Thames, there's a ball up in the air, it's coming off the rim. You'll notice Kellen Thames is just like hunting that thing like a gazelle, and he'll take off to try to jam down an offensive rebound on somebody's head. Deion Brown, again, he's kind of watching, lurking. He's waiting for, a random ball to take a high bounce off the rim, and then he's going to go sky for it. So it's not necessarily just boxing out. It's knowing where you are on the floor, and it's knowing how to make an impact no matter where you are on the floor. That's why Deion Brown is a winning player, because whether he's getting into the paint, making things happen close to the rim, or he's out in the perimeter hitting a three, whether he's playing defense, whether he's fighting for a rebound, this is a guy who makes an impact on the team all over the floor. Corner, middle, half court, it doesn't matter where he's at. Deion Brown is going to make the Billikens a better team, and that's something you saw tonight. When we get into the thick of it with the A10 conference schedule, and they go up against some of the great guards that we know the A10 is always going to have, Deion Brown is going to be an incredibly important player to this Billikens season, because when that lead guard, that superior 6'1", 12 points, 8 assists per game, when that guy goes up against the Billikens this year, they're going to have Deion Brown to throw at him. And that's going to be a huge factor for the Billikens this entire season. Jay Sitch comes into the chat as well from the YouTube and says, free throw shooting was impressive. Ceiling is limitless with this team's depth. Very excited for the season. Jay Sitch, I can't disagree with a single thing you said. When we asked Josh Search, what's the one thing you might have to circle on this team that could be problematic, he said free throw shooting. And right out of the gate, Amari McCautry hit 2. That's a very good sign after last year. Paul Otieno went 4 for 4. And this team overall just killed it from the charity stripe. Going back to the Travis Ford days, there's been something about free throw shooting in this building, and it's been problematic. And it helps for the Billikens that Kaluanya, who we all love, but had a very tough season at the charity stripe last season. It's helpful that he's not in there and teams can't hack away at him and let him take free throws. and potentially kind of put the Billikens in a bad spot. That frees things up. So for them to hit 81% of their free throws tonight, that's big for the Billikens going forward. Again, it was a huge bugaboo last night. I love that you brought that up, Jay Sitch. Ceiling is limitless with this team's depth. That's been my take. And I know a sloppy game like tonight's going to make some people pull back on the ceiling talk. I refuse to pull back because we saw tonight Sean Sharma's shooting, Quentin Jones' overall play as a combo guard, Amari McCautry is growing as a player. Trey Green, I don't think I've mentioned Trey Green once. He really was struggling to find his rhythm in that first half, and then he got hot in the second half, hit a couple threes. I mean, the shooting they have on the team, the athleticism they have on this team. I'm with you, Jay Sitch. The ceiling is limitless, and this is just a little bit of a taste. We haven't even got to talk about something I think we're going to be talking about the entire year, and that's the lineup constructions and the different lineups we're going to see and things like that. Paul Otieno didn't start. My theory on that is this team is better right now in these 4-out lineups. And just looking at my sheet, I mean, I just in front of me right now, I think I have, let's see here, 2, 4, 6, 8. So we're talking about 13 different lineups played in the first half. And it looks like about 13 different lineups played in the second half, maybe about 15 actually at the very end when there were a couple random ones coming in. They got Jax Kerr, you got Cam Hudson, the 2 freshmen into the game as well. So, I mean, a dozen different lineups are getting played by the Billikens in each half. And I don't think we have any duplicates here because that's just how deep they are. They can switch things around. They can change things up. They can hit you with all these different things. You know, they started the game with just Robbie Avila. Paul Otieno's in the first shift. So they start off with a 4-man lineup. They go to a 2-big lineup. They're shifting back around. Pretty incredible what the Billikens were able to do throughout this game with all these different lineups. There were 3 lineups by my count that finished the best. And the best in this situation is going to be a +5 margin. And those 3 lineups that we saw finish with +5 margins in tonight's game, Amari McCautry, Deion Brown, Kellen Thames, Paul Otieno, and Robbie Avila. So in that one right now, there's not a lot of shooting there. I just want to point that out again. So that's McCautry, Brown, Thames, Otieno, and Avila. I don't know how often that 5 is going to be the best 5 for the Billikens in any night, but nonetheless, first half, that was the best lineup. 2 lineups put up +5 plus or minuses tonight in the second half. Both of them were led by a 4-man group. So Quentin Jones, Deion Brown, Trey Green, Robbie Avila, and then you had a 5th man of Kellen Thames and a 5th man of Amari McCautry. Both of those 5-man groups put up +5 plus or minuses today for the Billikens. That's something I'm going to be tracking all year. These plus and minuses with these different lineups, who's looking the best, who really changes things. If you had to talk about tonight, who was the most impactful player, I think for both good and bad reasons, we have to focus on Amari McCautry tonight. I haven't talked a lot about Amari, but he finishes in double digits, and I put out a tweet, and he was just everywhere tonight. I mean, if he wanted to get to the rim tonight, he got to the rim tonight, which is exactly what you want to see if you're a Billikens fan. Amari McCautry last year, an up-and-down player, but towards the end of the year, he really started finding his game. And so for him to get a start right out of the gate, you got to love to see that if you're a Billikens fan. To see him get double-digit points right out of the gate, you got to love to see that if you're a Billikens fan. One thing you don't want to see, he's in foul trouble early. He gets 4 fouls pretty early in the second half. Stu Durando tweeted out that he had 7 fouls in the exhibition game or scrimmage against Bradley because obviously they weren't kicking guys out for fouls. So Amari McCautry in the Billikens' last 8 games last year had 13 points, 10 points, 15 points, and 20 points in 4 of those 8 games last year. So to see him put up double digits against a team like SEMO, I know that was really positive to see from Amari McCautry. He's going to be an important part for the Billikens because I was just talking about Deion Brown's defense, passing, shooting, positional versatility as a rebounder. All those things give the Billikens an edge. Amari McCautry in a lot of those ways also gives the Billikens an edge. He's 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan, and you saw what he was able to do tonight. He can handle the ball. He can be a lead ball handler for the Billikens, especially in transition. And if he wants to get to the paint, he's athletic, he's long, he's got the handle. The question's going to be, obviously, against the Grand Canyons, against the A-10 schedule, against the Daytons, can he, in the second half, 5 or 6 point game, can he pull down a rebound, put the ball on the floor, and command a possession and score some points, or get the Billikens in a good situation? Or is he going to get ahead of himself, turn the ball over, or dribble himself into a trap like a lot of young players do? That will be the key question for Amari McCoughtry. We'll have to see what happens there when we really see, is he making the next step? But seeing him tonight, especially, again, foul trouble, but he's scoring. He comes back in with 4 fouls, and he's still aggressive, getting downhill and scoring. And he never picks up the 5th foul. That's a pretty big positive to pick up as well. The fact that he didn't run into that issue late in the game. He didn't foul out. Paul Otieno could probably learn from him a lesson or two on the best way to handle that situation when you come back with 4 fouls. Billikens again win tonight. It's a big one, 92-67 over SEMO. It was a rough first half. They turned the ball over like crazy, but in the end, the shooting locks in. You had multiple players, 5 different players get into double digits. And in fact, let's talk a little bit about our friends over at My Home Bank, because they sponsor our Money Moment of the game. And Money Moment of the game is brought to you by Home Bank. Check them out, 3000 East Pittman Avenue, Lake St. Louis, Missouri. Give them a call, 855-577-2001. They are a member FDIC. Home Bank is the Money Moment of the game is brought to you by Home Bank. They are the team behind our team here at STL Sports Central. Again, visit them at myhomebank.bank or call 855-577-2001. Our Money Moment of the game for tonight, though, I think it's going to have to be Robbie Avila early in the first half, catches a pick-and-pop shot and puts down an early three-pointer. It was the first three-pointer of the game for the Billikens, and it broke things open, and they never looked back, and they won this game. Big thanks to our friends at Home Bank. They are our business partners here at STL Sports Central. From business lending to everyday banking, Home Bank has been with us since day one here at STL Sports Central as our trusted partner. Business isn't just about numbers, it's about relationships. And with Home Bank, those relationships make all the difference. Home Bank is the team behind our team at STL Sports Central. Visit myhomebank.bank, or again, call them right there on the screen, 855-577-2001. That's Home Bank, member FDIC. More than a bank, they're your business partner, just like they are our business partner here at STL Sports Central. Like I said, 5 players in double digits for the Billikens. If you didn't hear me to open up the show, I'll go through them again. Through all 3 returning Billikens in double digits. Robbie Avila leads the team and the game with 16 points in today's game. He's followed by fellow returning Billikens, Amari McCoughtry and Kellen Thames. How about the return for Kellen Thames? He's gotten the cramping figured out. He played a good amount of minutes tonight, and he looked great. And they were joined in double digits by 2 of the new Billikens, including Quentin Jones and Dion Brown. Billikens in this one, 92, SEMO 67. Unfortunately, our special guest contributor, Bob Ramsey, unable to join us tonight. Of course, you can always catch him on 104.1 and at Camo X. He's always going to be the voice of the Billikens this year. He will be joining us at different times throughout this season here on the Billikens Central postgame. We also have plenty of other contributors. If you watch us here on STL Sports Central, you will know Eric Sontag and Grant Salzman. They will be joining us as well periodically for these post games. It's been a lot of fun tonight. Before we close out, though, I got to tell everybody about our good friends at DraftKings. Guys, it's coming. It's almost here. We're finally going to get the DraftKings app live in Missouri in the way that you can play with DraftKings. Download their app and use our promo code STL Sports. Always support the sponsor. That's the best way you can help us out here at STL Sports Central. Here's the thing about DraftKings, guys. It's the best app to use. That's why we're partnered with them. That's why we want you to use it. And right now, you can play some basketball, you can get some college basketball, but let's be honest, guys, we're all here for the NFL fans. And what's your favorite touchdown when it comes to the NFL? For me, it's the next touchdown. Heck, if we're talking basketball, what's my favorite three-pointer? The next three-pointer. Because on DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the NFL, every touchdown can bring you closer to cashing in. From the first touchdown score to anytime TD props or the thrill of live in-game betting, that's my favorite thing. Every snap is loaded with opportunity. Here's the best part, guys. New customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. Again, new customers bet $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets instantly. And you could have had some fun tonight with that Cardinals and that Cowboys game. Here we go, everybody. With your team hitting pay dirt, and it pays out to you. Those $5 bets pays out $300 right to you. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code STL Sports. That's code STL Sports for new customers to turn $5 into $300 in bonus bets if your bet wins, in partnership with DraftKings, where the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
We are back here on the Billikens Central postgame on STL Sports Central. Big thanks to our friends at DraftKings, also to our friends at Home Bank. It's a Billikens win, 92-67. I know we were just talking about all the lines with the football games, but it's going to be a fun season here for the Billikens. Could be some fun props with the scores they have. Deion Brown's rebounds. That's going to be a fun one to watch this entire season as well. It's going to be a blast of a season here. We'll be here after every game, home and away, all these home games. I'll be here live from somewhere in Chaifetz. I'm sure it'll change as the season goes along, but those home games, we will be live in studio breaking down those games for you every single time here in the Billikens season. I know the Mizzou postgame already wrapped up. We're wrapping up the Billikens now. Stay tuned here to STL Sports Central. We're going to have Blues postgame coming up. Might not be as much fun as the Mizzou and the SLU post game, but nonetheless, we got to do what we got to do. This has been the Billikens Central post game on STL Sports Central for our sponsors at Home Bank and at DraftKings. Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great rest of your night, St. Louis.